Hello, everyone. IMS welcomes you all to Future You. Set your career compass right with experts insight. And I am Kalyani Majumdar, your host for this webinar. So today we will be covering all about careers in equity research in the first part of careers in finance. So in today's session, we will find answers to a career in equity research. What does it encompass? What is the career progression like? Equity research analyst versus IB, what's the key difference? Buy side versus sell side, what are the roles and responsibilities? How to build your profile? How does an MBA help in getting your foot in the door? What are the certifications required to excel as an equity research analyst and more? So please welcome our speaker today. We have Udit Dhekale. He's an equity research analyst at Bank of America. Udit is an alumnus of IIM Calcutta. Prior to his job at Bank of America, he has also worked with Essar Capital Limited and Nomura Research Institute. Thank you, welcome Udit, and thank you so much for being here today for this webinar.
Thank you, Kalan.
Yeah, so let's start from your career trajectory. Can you just briefly tell us from your graduation to MBA and how exactly equity research happened?
So before MBA, I did mechanical engineering, almost as 80% of your
Yes.
MBA batch is
Yeah.
engineer.
Yeah.
So again, specifically, I like mechanical engineering, automotive, etc. So post that, did 2 years at Bajaj Auto because my love for the automotive sector as such.
Okay.
Then, as usual, there was a question like I think many of the students would have whether to go for MS or do an MBA. So I chose an MBA
Yes. Yeah.
because you want to kind of move from technical kind of jobs to a managerial kind of role.
Mm.
So did MBA from IIM Cal, but while pursuing the career. So first of all, after my graduation, when you get your first salary, you
Mm.
start looking for areas to invest in. So that was
Yeah.
my first experience with the public
Okay.
market. So
Mm.
I started investing right from my first job. So that was my kind of first touch, to investing. So that interest stemmed from there, which continued in MBA as well.
Mm.
But as it happens, everything might not go as you want in a in that environment. So even though I liked finance, in the final placement, I got into Nomura Research Institute, which was a management consulting firm, and mainly they were into automotive and
Mm.
industrial.
Mm.
So the clients were mainly automotive and industrial. So
Yeah.
all in all, it was not I still like the field, so it was a good experience. But post that, my search for kind of finance kind of roles was continued. Then I got an opportunity at SR Group. SR Group is a fairly large conglomerate. They were in the first top three conglomerates back in 2008-9. But because of some of the corporate concerns, they kind of had to sell their many of the businesses in the sectors. Like for example, they had second largest refinery in India after Reliance, fifth largest steel plant, SR Steel. So in 1819, they were kind of restructuring their organization to kind of have a fund and holding company structure. So in that setup, I got into private equity capital team of that group, wherein they were scouting for investments to restart their business in the respective sector like metals and mining, be it oil and gas, etc. Did that for 1.5 years, and as I told you, because my interests were mainly aligned for core finance jobs, either private side or public side. I was still searching for the opportunities, and this opportunity came along, and I think it was a good transition for me to.
Okay.
So that is the overall journey.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, where exactly that connection, basically, how exactly finance happened, which is, very interesting. Because tell me something, is it, as an equity research analyst, have you ever felt that if only you had a CFA, a level 1, 2, 3, something, it would have helped you better? Or is it like, your other people, like within your team, as well as your colleagues and all, do they have
Yeah.
CFA? Because I have mostly spoken to people who are in equity research or investment banking, and they almost always have a CFA. level
Yeah,
on at
yeah.
least. Yeah. So is that like an
Yeah,
impediment?
definitely, definitely. So there are two, three aspects to it.
Hmm,
First of all, CFA definitely helps,
right.
especially if you're not from finance background.
Yeah.
So it's always a plus to have a CFA. But then again, uh, I mean, the kind of profile you have. So for example, if you look at my profile, so IIM Calcutta was there. I had a majority of finance courses,
Hmm,
then a couple of years in private equity. Coupled with that, I used to invest. Basically, I was in touch with the market, so
correct.
it had. So CFA is nothing but you're building your finance
Right.
block or finance, kind of foundation. If you pay good attention to your MBA classes, I mean, it's almost the same. The syllabus is almost the same. So it's not like that it will help incrementally in gaining the knowledge, but as a degree on your profile it definitely helps. But a different approach to that is if you have a good profile and if you can demonstrate what your job requires in your interviews and all, then I mean it's not a kind of must have thing.
Okay.
But definitely if you're looking from shortlisting point of view, when
Hmm,
there
yeah.
are 200 300
Correct.
applicants and HR has to sort your application,
Hmm,
then definitely the probability of getting a CFA on your profile will have a higher probability of
correct.
getting a shortlist.
So how did you convince during your interview at Bank of America that you are right for equity research? I mean, apart from the
Yeah.
year bid, yeah.
So yeah. So see, even though I was in a private side in Essar Capital, the nature of work was similar.
Hmm,
Like in a private equity team, you have a team for different sector. Let's say for metals and mining, for oil and gas, for retail, etc.
yeah.
And the group has to invest some capital in each of the sectors, and they will kind of invest in the best idea, or basically the team has to convince the management committee, so basically investment committee, that why this business would do good and what is the returns this business will get to the fund in next, let's say, 3 4 5 years, whatever is the time horizon.
Hmm,
So the nature of the job was almost similar, that you scout for the business, either greenfield or so it's either a acquisition or you are starting from scratch.
correct.
So you'll have to do industry research, do financial modeling. You'll have to make an investment committee memo, basically, which is a complete history, geography, and forecast, financial modeling of the business, basis which the investment committee will take a decision on whether they want to invest or not, or whether they want to go ahead with the proposal or they want to tweak it or
Hmm,
whatever.
hmm.
So similarly, equity is almost the same. It's just that it's a public markets. The companies are traded and the shares are listed.
Okay.
So I mean, in that sense, it was not difficult to convince. I think.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, what exactly is the major difference between
Mm.
like a job as an equity research analyst versus investment banking? What are the how different? As in, of course, there are two different roles
Yeah, yeah,
altogether.
yeah,
But in a say in Bank of America, if somebody is an investment banker, or if somebody is working in the
yeah,
equity research
yeah, yeah,
department, how different are those?
yeah.
And
So
are the skills, and also are the skills very different from this to the other?
yeah, yeah. I will get to that. So first of all, I would like to start with what equity research is and how it is tiered. Almost the same in the investment banking as well.
Hmm,
But if you see your, HDFC securities, ICICI securities, you have a demat account with them.
hmm,
And if there are full-fledged brokerages, and once a retail a person has a demat account with them, they will get, they will get a free subscription to their research. So if you have HDFC Securities or ICICI Direct Demat account, then you'll get their daily reports on companies, how the stock price for those coverages are moving, etc., etc.
hmm.
So those are kind of domestic brokers or domestic houses.
Hmm.
That is the one section of a sorts. A second would be your institutional, so mainly foreign banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, Barclays, Citi.
Hmm.
So we do almost the same thing, but for institutional clients. So for our the business, the clients are actually managers of mutual funds, managers of pension houses, outside pension houses like Fidelity or CBPIB,
Yeah.
yeah, those kind of things. So in a sense that equity research is a kind of academic job. It's a very long career because people perceive you as a kind of expert in that sector. So if you take any equity research name within that sector and which is a good respectable name, he or she will at least have 10, 15, minimum 15 years of good work ex within that sector
Okay.
on his or her resume. So in terms of work, as I said, it's more like academic sort of thing, because you go in, you start as an analyst or junior analyst, you start looking at one sector, you have 10, 15 companies, and it takes at least 8 to 10 years to complete one business cycle for you to see how the market is moving in that complete cycle. So
Right.
unless and until you have that, that experience is not valid. Again, till kind of mid 5, 6 years, it's fairly single-minded job that you are the sole person, you and the lead analyst. So there is a lead analyst and there is a associate or junior analyst who helps in order. So till you become a lead analyst or writing analyst, it's almost kind of you are the only one person that doing the job, and you don't need to collaborate as such with anyone other than speaking to clients and going to company meetings, etc. Moving on to investment banking.
Yeah.
So again, just before moving on to investment banking, the work in equity research is kind of balanced. You can say, like, for example, you cover mostly 15, 20 stocks in your sectors. There are 4 results each every quarter. You have to give update notes on those results. If there is any news, if there is any news on mergers acquisition within your coverage, then you'll have to publish the reports, implications of that in the sector or the company. Similarly, any regulation change or any big news, macro news that might affect your sectors or companies, plus any thematic, any themes, so consumption theme in India, like, or those, or EVs in automotive, those sort of
Okay.
things.
Okay.
Those are a little less frequent, but basically you'll have to build a thought leadership within that sector.
Okay.
And on work life balance, I would say it's a little less hectic than investment banking, but again, you do have your patches of kind of wherein you have to stretch it out a bit
Hmm.
more.
Hmm.
uh, in terms of investment banking, again, investment banking is definitely a lot hectic in terms of work than equity research,
Hmm.
but again, it is much more monetarily rewarding.
Okay.
They compensate there, obviously.
Hmm.
The basic difference between this and that is this is public side, or it's completely dependent on how you perceive a company, how you perceive a sector to be, and whatever the so whatever data publicly available is.
Hmm.
uh, Investment banking is obviously private side. You have access to all the company data, all the company financial models, everything you have access to.
Okay.
uh, and again, you have a deal cycle of 6 to 8 months, and there is a pitching in between.
Okay.
So uh, how the investment banking works is the maximum number of deals you do in that year,
Hmm.
that will decide your bonus basically.
Okay.
So it is always crunched for time because everyone wants to have a
Okay.
maximum
Yeah.
output
Hmm. Hmm.
out of themselves as well as team.
But do you think equity research? Do you think one can transition from equity research to become an investment banker, since they do have the knowledge of the market and they are the ones who are doing all the research anyway?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
you think it's possible to switch?
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely possible. It's not very difficult. Yeah.
Okay.
People often switch from investment banking to equity research to business. It happens.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's
both ways possible.
okay.
In both
Okay.
ways possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take this one question. Should I do FRM before CFA, as I have not yet graduated and I can't do CFA before graduation, but I'm eligible for FRM?
So again, FRM is mostly for risk profiles. I don't think, again, as I said, it would be a good to have on a profile, but it won't really help you in in the skill set that are required for any investment banking or private equity, either, or equity research.
Hmm, hmm. So is MBA degree important for equity research analysts? Of course, if you are not in
Yeah.
CFA and all that, then definitely the
So,
MBA is the one
mm,
that is
yeah.
opening. the gate, isn't it?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
even in that, the trajectory, as I told you that, yes. So the trajectory would be then, if you don't have an MBA and if you still do an equity research,
Mm.
this obviously you'll have to start from the lower of
Yeah.
the table, right? Then you'll have to have some experience, gain some experience, and then basis your performance, then you can extract, go up or climb the ladder. But
Can one prepare for CAT and do CFA together? Is it possible?
I mean, it's
It's stressful, I
what
guess.
exactly, it's obviously stressful,
Yeah,
but
because both are,
what you
yeah.
so what you can do is CAT ends on November, so you can probably do, if it's a first level, then you can probably opt for June, and
Mm,
then you can stretch it out between November to June.
yeah.
But
Because
I don't know,
our attendees are mostly taking CAT this year, and some of them will be taking CAT next year. So maybe
next year.
for the people who are taking in 2023, they can probably think of it. I mean, but
Yeah.
otherwise,
They can definitely, yes. Especially for them, they can give CAT this year at level one, and they can also try level two in second year, because second year of MBA is pretty, it's not like the first year. Almost
right.
many of you will get a PPO, or the placements will happen in the early semester.
Mm,
So you
mm,
still have 2 semester to chill, kind of thing. So
correct.
you can do level two or level one also
Okay.
in that period. Yeah.
Okay. What is the difference in the roles and responsibilities of sell side versus buy side?
But
What the key differences,
yeah.
and also profile for sell side and buy side, are those very different, or are these pretty much the profile is pretty much the same for the two?
So, in terms of work, it not be materially different,
Okay.
but in terms of responsibility, definitely there is a gap. As I told you, equity research does not have any equity researcher does not have any obligation or any, you can say, skin in the game, but it has a skin in the game in a different way. Like, for example, you are not responsible for any gains or losses. Like, you, if for example, yeah. So if I get an HDFC report saying buy Maruti, and I bought, referencing that report, and if there is a loss for me as an investor, then I cannot go back and hold HDFC Securities responsible, right? But what I will do is, I'm less likely to refer the report next time.
Okay.
So in that sense, even if there is no your money is involved, or bank's money from your on your behalf is not involved, what will happen if you're not performing, your ratings will go down, and subsequently ratings will go down, and bank doesn't want that, obviously. So either they will ask you to improve your rating, basically improve your performance, or just you know find someplace else.
True.
That, yeah. So
Yeah.
in that sense, definitely, even if you are not investing yourself, your performance needs to be on track, in terms, yeah.
Investment banker, that they are
No, no.
responsible, right? But like in equity, it's not like they are accountable in that sense. What you say,
Yeah.
but for an investment banker, if the client is losing, then even it's
No. Let me clear what investment bank is particularly does. Investment banking has only two or three functions. One, if company wants to acquire some other firm,
Hmm,
company wants to merge with some other firm, or sell one of the part, or do a fundraise.
okay,
So it's not like it's less likely related to what you can say, public market in these aspects.
correct.
Third is doing IPOs, that's equity capital markets. So majorly these four things is what investment banker does. And so there is no what you can say, there is no question of performing, stock performing or recommendation performing, because it's a transaction,
Okay.
right? And investment banking business, or their revenue, depends on how many transactions you have done in that particular calendar year or financial year, whatever. So what any team, I'm only taking budget bracket names like Barclays, Citi, JP Morgan, Bank of America. So any of their investment banking team who does the maximum transaction has the maximum revenue, and it is given a rank one team, rank two team, rank three team, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So buy side versus sell
Yeah.
side.
So coming to buy side is exactly opposite to a sell side. So the person who is reading our research report, be it Bank of America, be it other any other firms, he will take his view on whether to invest in particular stock or not.
Hmm.
So we cover some sector, we cover some companies. Similarly, he will be covering some sector. So there will be a opposite mirror team. Like in equity research, you have a one writing analyst and one associate for each sector: consumer, power, industrials, automotive. Similarly, depending on the fund size, they might have a single analyst for sectors, or one analyst might cover two or three sectors. So their job is to take a conscious call to invest in those sectors and in those companies. Their performance definitely matters, because if you don't deliver returns, the investor whose funds you're managing will want you out.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is the key difference.
Okay. Okay. And so, for when they are when a particular profile, which one suits that of a buy side or a sell side? So basically, how different are the profiles that they're looking for both?
So for a buy side, they mostly prefer investment bankers, because so in investment banking, because you do transactions,
Uh,
you have a very deeper view of a company. In equity research, what happens is we are only privy to public information and whatever information that is available publicly.
okay.
So if you want to delve deeper into a company in terms of very minute details, it's the buy side people would want to have someone who is with IB plus public markets experience
Okay.
than equity research. So preference is given there, obviously, but it's not necessarily that. I mean, if you want to rank, then IB is first and equity research second. If you want to move to buy side.
Okay. So what's a typical day for an equity research analyst? Let's take your one typical day.
Yeah,
What all do you
yeah,
do? Like how the day
yeah,
starts and how it ends.
yeah. Sure. So a day starts at 7:15 in the office in the morning. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, because 7:30 we daily have a morning meeting. Any of the reports that have published yesterday, that gets kind of published. That's kind of presented in the morning meeting, that we have come up with this note and this is our view on this company or this sector, etc., etc., etc. After that, again, as I said, if there is no result or any news-based what do you say work to do, then you go on with your normal thematic research. Or again, see, this is a very self-driven and self-motivated job, because whatever will you will do will add to your kind of resume, not resume per se, but uh, your reputation, kind of say, in front of buy side people, because they are your clients. So uh, other than results, it's basically up to you, and how do you want to plan it. And so this is for associate that I'm talking about. And once you become research analyst, once you publish your note, you have clients to attend to. They will see your note, they will ask a few questions. Then you have a meetings scheduled in next 2-3 days. So there would be a definitely follow up on whatever you have written. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So let's take a few questions.
yeah.
Um, okay. Should I consider becoming a sub broker first to understand the equity market?
No, not necessarily. Even if you follow the market, again, if that opportunity is there, definitely you will be very connected to the market and you will know. But it's better. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, you don't have to, put a lot of efforts if you want to, do MBA. So you don't have to spend 2-3 years there. Just want to become an equity research if you are planning to, prepare for CAT and all.
Okay. Does switching from IB to equity research or vice versa mean starting your career from scratch?
No, 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 not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. But I would say, as I told you, equity research is a very long career, because there are only teams of two people. One is your writing analyst, and there is an associate below, and that's the complete team that you will have for whatever 8-10 years. So in terms of career progression, you will progress in terms of designation, but in terms of work that you're doing, that won't change much for the fairly long period. The only good step up that you will have is when you become the writing analyst, actual lead analyst for that sector. And that can happen again only in two ways. Either your bank, increases coverage and there is a new sector, or your writing analyst goes somewhere, or some stuff like that.
Mhm.
So uh, I mean, in terms of that, it would not be, if you come from IB, it would not be starting from scratch. But again, it's a fairly long career, so 2 3 years IB here and there, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Does IT background help in equity research?
Uh, it depends. If you are given IT sector, definitely it will help. If you're an IT and if you go for automotive or industrial sector as a associate or analyst, then I don't think it will help.
Okay. Yeah. According to you, which has more potential, research analysis or risk management?
Uh, I'm not sure. As a potential, I think both the careers are great.
Okay.
Depends on your taste. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. Can we do MBA with CFA? Of course, yeah, you can. Are equity research analysts under a greater pressure of performing and showing high returns on consistent basis as compared to PE analysts?
See, as I told you, there is no pressure to show the returns, but it's a service-oriented industry. So if your calls go wrong, if your views go wrong, often,
Mm,
so see, 100% is not possible definitely, because if 100% you are right, then you are not in. I mean, you won't be doing research. You will
yeah,
be investing your own money, right? 100.
correct.
So, but the thing is to have that leadership that majority of the times you beat the market or you beat the other analysts on the street. So because we are not investing our money, there is no pressure on returns, but obviously there pressure on performance to get the calls right and get the views right.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
clients come back to us. Yeah.
But is there any certification courses and all that our audience can do now to basically, add to their profile?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so they can do an IIM certificates and CFA. I think that is quite enough. And other than that,
Which one? CFA and
NISM NISM certificates by the NSC. Yeah.
okay, okay,
And other than that, I would say it's having being in touch with the markets will help everyone in
okay,
interviews more than anything else.
okay, okay. Yeah, so there is a question. Do NISM certifications help in getting equity research roles? Yes, you
Yeah,
can try. Yeah. But of course, additionally with all this, you also have to have either a lot of market knowledge, as in practical knowledge, I believe, and
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and probably, also
So
MBA maybe.
two exactly 2 3 things. First, from market point of view, we should definitely know macro. So what drives Indian markets, be it your crude, interest rates, your fiscal deficit, capex, government budget, GST collections, etc. So that is overall from market point of view. And if you have any experience in the sector, so if you have any experience post MBA or pre MBA, at least you should know how that sector is moving, what is the drivers within that sector, how the competition is, key
Okay,
companies, their key metrics, etc. So in IT, the wages, salaries; in automotive, your margins; FMCG also, your margins, distribution, etc.
okay,
So it depends on what sector you are interviewing, basically, because as I said, there is a team of only two. So if you are interviewing, it's likely that your sector is mostly fixed. So it will, and they are likely to ask the questions regarding that sector and the sector which you have worked with. So yeah.
okay. So, Kavi, MBA in finance straight after undergrad or MSc in finance with 2 to 3 years of industry experience, then MBA, then MBA, which is the correct approach?
I think MS
So
first one was.
MBA in finance straight after
Mhm,
undergrads or MSc
mhm.
in finance with 2 to 3 years of industry experience, then MBA, which is the correct approach?
So MS, so double postgrad.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Postgrad and then again another one. So double MBA kind of
no,
like
I don't think you'll have to spend that much in learning. It would be better if you do graduation, then work experience, and then MBA.
okay.
Because MSc in finance, you'll spend 5 years in college, and MBA you'll spend 2 years, 7 years in college. And then and you should have some street experience other than entire 7 years in college.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now tell me something about, let's talk about core skills.
Mhm.
So, three hard skills that you require and three soft skills that you require.
Yeah.
Price
So,
point, all that. Yeah, everything included. Yeah.
yeah. So hard skills definitely you should be good with the numbers, because the thing is whenever there might be so definitely there are calls with the clients and they might ask you questions on the fly. Okay, this margin is has come down this much. How will it affect your net profit, and how that will change the stock price? So definitely number game should be good. The second would be definitely attention to details, because you are writing and there might some of many of the times there might be a time crunch and you need to get some reports just out that day itself. So, for example, there is a news regarding budget or news regarding any acquisition or some sort of that, you will have to get it out on that day itself. So, attention to detail is very important, because if it's a public news, and if you kind of get wrong with any a single number, that will have a really bad impression. And secondly, patience. I think
Yeah.
because it's not like that you will it's not like a corporate job. You become a manager, then deputy manager, you move to other category or you move to other locations. It's fairly stable at one place. You'll have to do that sector for years and years, so
Yeah.
patience matters. That is on hard skills. Secondly, soft skills, definitely convincing your point of view even if there is a pushback from the other party. So how confident are you on your views? And it's not just confident, you have proper reasons to back that. So, and other than that, uh, soft skills you don't need much, because it's kind of individualistic work.
Mm.
So even if you are good with the team, not much of a people management skills are required, because it's fairly small. The
Okay.
only thing is you'll have to handle clients regularly and
Okay.
basically market your views. So many of the times it might happen that the research is good, but he's not able to put forth his views that strongly or convince the clients. Uh, and the reports are good, but you also need to go out and talk to the clients.
Correct. There's a question about, I'm currently a fixed income trader. Would it be
Mhm.
worth switching to equity research or IB?
uh, Again, it depends on what kind of life you have. As I told you, investment banking is not for everyone, because even if you become like ED or sort, I mean, even if you spend 10, 15 years in the career, you will still have 16, 17 hours of work. It's not like that you have come recently, you have joined from the college, and that is why you're working 17, 16, 17 hours. It's throughout the team. So, but definitely it is monetarily rewarding as well. Equity research is not that hectic as I told you, because various things. So really, it's up to you what you want to pursue. So time versus money.
Okay. Is doing masters in financial technology helpful in either of the job profiles?
I don't think so. See, basically, financial technology is what I believe is would be more suitable to quant's role, wherein you might build an indicator, or you might build a system of sorts, wherein you have a different indicators coming in, and basis that you are getting buy or sell uh, signals. But that would be more of a quant's role than equity research. But equity research, it's a very soft aspect which cannot be put in the numbers.
Okay. Is coding language helpful? Is it useful?
Sometimes, but not much.
Okay. And okay, somebody was asking what was your cat score? Most of
My scores.
I actually right now just planning. First let us first clear cat.
Still, it's a 19.71.
Okay.
Calcutta was closed at 54, I think.
Hmm.
And my batch, yeah.
Did any certification on your resume help you, or was your cat score enough to get into IIM Calcutta?
I think it was more than a cat score. I had kind of, not. I had two, three things, key things on my profile. First of all, key internship in Tata Motors, 2 years at Bajaj Auto, and a couple of peers from college. Plus, I also did kayaking and rowing at college. So I think all those things kind of came together.
Okay, okay. I'm CA and have 2 years of experience in internal controls audit and did my articleship in statutory audits of financial services companies. What do you think will help me transition in equity research or investment banking role?
Good MBA, and definitely.
An
Yeah,
MBA? Okay,
yeah, definitely.
okay,
Any top tier MBA will get you in any top tier. At least will get you a shortlist to any top tier IB roles.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a little bit about the compensation bit. See, I mean, the thing is,
Yeah.
that investment banking comes along the whole thing that it's very glamorous. Everybody wants to be a
Yeah.
banker, of course. But yeah, with equity research, what are the plus points? What are the things that I mean, choosing equity research will really help? And what's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
compensation like
Yeah. So again,
range?
yeah, roughly. Again, so the as I the tiers in IB and equity is also same. So
Mm.
equity research can I'm saying about an associate who has joined a couple of years after MBA. So it can start anywhere from 10 lakhs per annum to, let's say, 35-40 lakhs per annum. Depends on which firm you choose to join.
Okay.
Uh, Investment banking, it's not 10, but it might start from 15 to 18. But again, similar range, 15 to 18 to 40 to 50, depending on which firm you join. The key difference comes in bonuses. Equity research, you might have 20-40% bonuses on your base salary. Uh, Again, it depends on how the market goes. I mean, for the last 2 years, you have seen the market and it's like crazy. So that might get stretched up to 60-70%. But in IB, generally bonuses are north of 70-80%. And for the years like the last, there are some firms who have already given 100, 120, 150% bonuses on the base side.
Mm.
So the key difference is there. So equity research generally on an average, if you take, you will work for 12 to 14 hours. Uh, Investment banking, you will work 16 to 17 hours, and out of 50 to 104 weekends, you might have to work half of them, almost 60-70 weekends you might have to work.
Okay.
So it's not the case with equity research. Largely, only 20 to 30%, 20% weekends will have to work.
Okay.
So that is a key difference. If you want to chase for that extra money, you'll have to give that time, of course.
Okay. Okay. Are
Yeah.
portfolio management roles better than equity research analyst jobs? Should we prefer working in fund management houses as it gives more scope for future growth as a portfolio manager?
So equity, as I told you, this career is a very long, and there are only few exits. Or either you become a writing analyst, and one of those exits is you go to buy side. But again, those roles are very small in numbers and very coveted.
Okay.
That is one thing, and also monetarily, it depends on where you are in the equity side and what you are getting by moving to buy side.
Mm.
But definitely, that is one of the exit for equity research people.
Okay.
What they look for.
Okay. So, can you tell us a little bit more about, when you were talking about skills, like, if you can compare the skill sets that are required in the sense, like, where you need to be an extrovert, where you need to be an
Yeah,
introvert.
yeah,
Is,
yeah,
is equity research analyst,
yeah.
um, is it introversion helps in
Yeah.
research, like in
No,
investment,
no,
it does not help at all. So,
no. So I'll tell you the key difference between as in terms of skills there. So if you look at the junior roles at both the places, they are fairly concentrated on doing two three things. Only Microsoft Office. That is either you will be doing financial modeling or working on presentation for investment banking.
okay.
Uh, but the thing is, in any of the role, if you move forward, you will have to become extrovert because in particularly for equity research, as I told you, your report might be that very good, but if no one knows your name or no one has or no other client has interacted with you,
Correct.
it's the client will drive your business basically, and if your business is doing good, only then you will be rewarded. So in that sense, definitely for the initial years, it might not be required, but definitely once you become a writing analyst, you start talking to the clients, it is important. For investment banking, the thing is a little different because you do transactions. The transaction lasts for 6 to 7, 8 months. Number one. Number two, you do pitches. For example, some company wants to merge with someone. They will ask four banks to present their pitches and everything. In many of the cases, while in pitches and while in transactions as well, you need to, the junior associates or associates need to coordinate with multiple people
Okay.
from clients, their audit department, finance, or every other department from where you have to get the information. So in that sense, I mean, the intro being introvert doesn't help definitely uh, because a team on a deal is very small. Only three or four people work on a deal with one ED, one VP, one associate, and one analyst. So everyone has a responsibility, and you cannot always loop in your associate or VP or for some data request in that sense. Secondly, in terms of promotion in investment banking, basically investment banking is a selling business, because if there is any transaction happening with any of the companies, they will ask for banks to present their case why that transaction should go to them, and their selling skill matters because that is what you have become ED for. And if you don't have selling skill, basically if you are not introvert, it will be difficult to have a selling skills, and it will be difficult to get business. So even while promoting, it is important for them as well to promote, to have that skill set among their employees, so that going ahead, they can bring more sales to the firm.
Okay. Okay. Do hedge funds hire in campus in top B schools in India?
Rarely,
Huh?
rarely in India.
Rarely. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what kind of profile, like during the hiring of for equity research, what kind of questions are they asking at the campus, as in if it's a placement? What kind of questions do they ask? And
Yeah. So
I mean, if you're sitting for an interview for anything, for example, bank.
yeah. So questions would be the same, but mainly questions would be divided into three parts. First is again, what experience do you have and what you have done? Any linkages to the financial markets? As I told you, if you have worked in IT, if you have worked in any startup, many of the startups have started listing on the exchanges. So uh, any questions regarding to that? Secondly, core finance, anything like ROE, how does ROE, anything like uh, mix of basically finance plus practical. If some company has very high margins, how it will change its ROC, those kind of things. What is ROC? What is human ROC? What is a bank's key ratios? How you look at banks, or how you look at any product companies or service companies, those kind of things. And then your commitment to the role basically, because as I said, they want to have a people who will stay longer, because uh, the churn would managing the churn here would be difficult thing, because the analyst make his impressions on the client, and if that goes to other bank, or he goes to any or he switches career basically, then that bank has to start from the scratch within that sector again, bring in someone new, start again, interact with bank, etc. So mainly those three
Can
things.
somebody jump from equity research to private? Are they very different?
So they are not very different, but jump is easier for investment bankers than equity researchers.
Okay. Why is that?
Yeah. So again, private equity or private, what they do is they find small companies, they take heavy stake, they mostly take heavy loans, they turn around the company because they bring in efficiencies, they kind of sell back the loans, and then they kind of list on the exchanges or sell to the other bigger client. So in that scenario, what we'll have to do is, the key skills is delving deeper into the company with uh, kind of doing financial engineering sort of things, which we don't do, because we cannot do, because we only have access to public data. So investment bankers they do that because they have to do transactions in mergers and acquisition, wherein they have the actual balance sheets, actual numbers from both the companies, the models, and then they work on that. So it's more sophisticated for them, and it's an easier transition to private.
Okay. So from an investment
Yeah.
banking to
Yeah. For junior roles, for senior roles, definitely in equity research, once you have a view about the sector, then they might take you for a view about the sector. Okay, so this sector is doing good, then let's pick up 2 3 companies in that. But for junior roles, definitely investment bank to private is a much easier transition than equity research.
so what exactly is the general career progression in equity research for an equity research analyst, as in how to
So
grow in the company from
yeah,
entry to
so
senior?
yeah, so you join as a junior analyst. You spend couple of years as a junior analyst, then 3 4 5, and it really depends. 3 years or 4 years to 7 8 years as a junior associate, and then you become a writing analyst. So from let's say if you have spent 4 years as a junior associate, the work that you are doing and the research and actual research analyst or writing analyst is doing, 90% of the work is the same, and the only 10% difference is he is talking to the clients directly, you might not be. That's
Okay.
the only difference. And once you become a writing analyst, and there is no kind of progression in terms of work, and there's just a designation change per se. Or you can increase the coverage. If you're covering Indian equities, you can might do ASEAN, or you might move to US. You might cover US equities.
Okay. So, what is the best way to understand the market? I mean, for our attendees who are not in finance and who are probably from engineering background and would like to choose finance during an MBA. So, what are the things like? What are the newspapers? I mean, how? What
Yeah.
the best
So
way?
so mostly newspapers, and I would say every so if you want to, first, as I said, there is a macro and there are sectors. For macro, newspaper is the best. Also there is a in so again, a domestic, you will get easy access to domestic equity research reports, from wherein you can have a look at Indian macro, how Indian as a economy performs, what are the key drivers. And for the sectors, again, you can look for primers or sector coverage, sector reports. You will easily get Ambit Capital, Motilal Oswal sector reports, wherein they dive deeper into the sectors, key drivers, companies, market shares, etc. So you can start from there, and once you have a hang of the sector, which news will drive which stocks, then you can just follow the news.
Okay.
Follow the news, follow the index and stocks.
But how do you study the reports? As in, what do you when you are looking at a report for somebody who is not a has not studied anything related to finance, then how do you first read the report?
So see, I mean, it's a core finance. So if you are not familiar with terms like P&L, margins, EBITDA, balance sheet, working capital, then obviously you'll have to get used to it. Either again, so the main question of CFA comes there,
Yeah.
because you are not an MBA, you don't have finance background, you need some
So
material
how
to
did
go.
you learn all this? As in, when did you learn?
Now,
During MBA, or was it when
no,
you
no, no,
started
no.
making money?
Before MBA, I did not give CFA, but I used to read stuff. So whenever if you don't realize or you don't understand any term, you can just Google it, and
Yes, yeah.
by clicking 1 2 3, you can.
Okay,
Not necessarily that you'll have to study a complete syllabus to understand it.
okay,
Just a P&L is a revenue minus cost. Within cost, if you don't understand something, you can Google it.
okay, okay. Yeah. There's a question. The analysts we see on TV channels like CNBC or Z Business, are their work same as yours?
Yeah, they are the same analysts.
Okay.
No, no, the analyst on CNBC, the work is the same, but those are not the same. But many equity research analysts do come on TV channels to express their views
Okay. Okay.
as a guest speakers.
Okay. Why do so many research analysts go wrong so many times, even though they are highly qualified and educated? Even their
Uh,
tasks are inaccurate many times. Somebody has asked.
so there are two things. Many of the times what happens is, people will pick up, let's say, we are in April today, so people will pick up a December or November note saying that, okay, this analyst had said Nifty will go to here, and where are now, but there are two, and the conditions are different. So in November, the conditions were X. Now the conditions are Y. So that November view is not relevant right now. That is one thing. Secondly, aim is not to be 100% accurate, because if you are 100% accurate, I mean, why would I?
Yeah, I mean,
I,
yeah,
I,
loan
I'll take 100 CR loan from a bank and I'll just invest because I'm 100% accurate. So the aim is not to be 100% accurate. Aim is to beat basically the streak, that you have to be most accurate. It cannot be 100% accurate, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Okay. So, regarding the entry level to senior level, so what's the senior most level one can rise in equity research?
It's a manager. So in terms of designation, either it's executive director or managing director. But again, as I said, in terms of work, it's really the same.
Okay, so what's the most senior level?
Managing director.
Okay, and one
Yeah.
can become a CEO or CXO? Uh,
No, no,
no. For
no,
an
no,
equity research, no. Oh,
no.
but for a,
CEO.
yeah,
So again, research is a department within the bank. If you see, so for example, if I take a domestic
we are
houses,
just talking about banks. Like we are talking about equity research analysts could be in a investment firm or could be in a
yeah, yeah. So so two three ways. Pure equity research, like again, I would bifurcate them into two. If you are in a domestic house like HDFC, then HDFC security is a very small part of HDFC bank, because HDFC is a very retail heavy bank. And within HDFC security, research is again a separate department. So it is very difficult to become a any CX level for that guy in a other than research department, you can say,
okay.
or securities department, max to max. If you move to
Bank.
budge brackets, say, like Bank of America, again, here we have two, three teams. One is investment banking, equity research, and then commercial banking as well. Again, commercial banking. So it depends on bank to bank. Like City, there is different. JPMC, there is different. But again, there will be a higher competition from other investment banking or commercial banking.
Right.
In private equity, there is a chance, but it's a very long shot that you have done private equity, then you went to some M&A team of some corporate. In M&A, you move to CFO kind of role, and then might be CFO. So that's a very long shot.
Okay. Which all companies are good to start career as a fresher for equity research analyst? Can you also give a few names or
So
research analysts, like the companies that will hire them?
yeah, so almost all domestic plus foreign banks have equity research houses. In domestic, HDFC, ICICI, Kotak Securities, Axis Capital, uh, Motilal Oswal, you might say. In foreign, top two, three are BofA, JP Morgan, Citibank, Morgan Stanley. Sorry,
Okay.
Morgan Stanley is top three.
Stanley?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's the work-life balance? Do you get any holidays being such a small team?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, because it's a client-facing business, and all the clients are investors and mostly foreign. For at least for us, they are mostly foreign clients. Almost December, entirely there would be light work, and you might get you. It is easy to get a couple of weeks holiday in December.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And work-life balance, I told you, average 10 to 12, minimum 12 hours a day.
So, how the career path of equity researcher looks like in a few years, say 8 to 10 years?
Uh,
Where do they reach?
so. You join as I told, you join as a junior analyst. You spend 2 3 years. You become associate. After you become associate, I mean there are two three other exits or other opportunities. One opportunity is if um, it's the environment is conducive, you might become a writing analyst.
Okay.
If you don't want to go there, you can switch geographies depending either your firm policy or outside the firm. So, for example, if I'm sitting in Bombay office covering Indian equities, I might get an opportunity to Singapore cover Asian equities, or might get an opportunity to London to not cover as in go as an associate to that analyst's whatever sector he is covering. So, for example, someone is sitting in London covering US or sorry Europe IT or Europe tech, then I might go there as a associate there. But true jump would be when you become the writing analyst, and again, it's the same. Once you become the writing analyst, it's up to you. So for example, if you really want to up your game sort of, then your Nifty has 40% financials. If you are currently covering, let's say, smaller sector like chemicals or of sorts, then if someone at a bigger bank or someone at a other firm is offering you financials, then it would be a jump for you, because from your coverage of 10% of your Nifty, you will go to 40% of the Nifty.
Okay, okay. Uh, uh,
Congrats.
what are the, can you tell us one challenging situation that you faced in your career as an equity research analyst? Say, maybe how certain things like war, things like that is happening, like, uh,
Yeah.
or maybe
So
pandemic and all that. So how exactly, what are the challenges that you faced as an equity research analyst during that time?
so see, challenges in terms of operational, there are some challenges, but at the end of the day, it's a view that you have to take. For example, if there is a war,
Mhm.
and it's now you will have to take a view that if the war continues, X will happen. If the war, it's subsided within next few weeks, Y will happen. Now it's up to you what you will take and what you will present in front of the client and what reasons you will give.
So how do
So
you
in
adapt
that,
in that scenario? How do you adapt?
I mean, basically, to again, there are some practical things, or there's some data points that you look at, and other than that, again, it's just experience. I mean, fortunately, I'm still in not that position yet, but whoever has and is in that position, they have seen. That is why, as I told you, it's a long career, because you need to see one complete cycle, at least 8 to 10 years of market. How
Right.
has market reacted to different events within the past years, and only that experience can give you that skill to take that call.
Okay. Okay. So now, before we wrap up, can you just tell us like
Yeah.
one or two suggestions for our attendees who are probably going to be who are taking CAT this year or next year? What all they can do to build up their profile now for the
Yeah.
future?
So so I would say, don't stick to a particular profile per se, that I want to do equity research or I want to do IB, because fairly the skill set required is kind of, and 70-80% they overlap. So be open to ideas. Number one. Number two, uh, there is a lot of uncertainty in campus placement. So don't get bogged down by it. And if you have decided to do a career in finance, so definitely, if it's possible, give a CFA. It will give you edge, and more than edge, it will help you in MBA, because uh, it will basically help you score better there. And all finance companies look for better scores at MBA or in undergrad.
Mm.
So more than a certification, I would say it would be kind of revision to your MBA, which will help you score better in the in those exams. And as I said, if you want to be in the public market side of things, then definitely follow follow the markets and read the companies.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all we have time for. Thank you, all the attendees, and thank you, Udit. In
yeah,
case you guys have any questions, you guys can also find
yeah.
Udit on LinkedIn, and you can ask him
LinkedIn, yeah.
personally questions, or you can also send it to me, and I'll forward these to you.
Sure.
Well, yeah, so that's about it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Karan. Yeah.